Hello, hello. Welcome to another Ask the Trainer show. It's May the 7th, 2026, and precisely 11 o'clock Eastern Eastern time. That's what we say, don't we? How's everyone? I can see Dean Mellis is in the chat. Hello, Dean. How are you? Um, please let me know if I'm audible and visible and everything is coming through properly. Doobie doobie doobie. Let me prepare some stuff. Mgalbu, Mgalbu is here. Welcome, welcome. Let me just. Where are the? There you go. There are the banners. Okay. Let's all not forget, if you are asking a question, please preface it with the word question capitalized so that I can distinguish it in the comments in an easier way. And just in case we have any new people, my name is Athanasios Posantzis. I don't, oh my Lord, I don't have a banner for that. Yeah, it's in the title. You'll find it in the description text below and all that. But on various social media, you'll find me as Noseman GR, and that would be Twixer, Twitter, X, whatever, and Instagram. Although I don't really post there, but sometimes I sneak around and see what other people are doing. And yeah, let's see. Nelson, hello. Okay, and let's kick it off with a question from Ngalbu, and I will go to my comments, and I will show the comment over here. Is there a way to animate the create outline command on an irregular shape to make it grow outwards gradually? Not directly, but okay, let's see what that's about. By the way, let me make sure I get this. There you go. By the way, for anyone that didn't notice, Maxon now has offered a compositing software, a very powerful compositing software called Autograph, for free. That's it. And it's free. Today there was an announcement, as you can see here, where whether you're a member of a team, of a studio, an individual, a hobbyist, whatever, you can just download it and use it for free. No restrictions, nothing commercially. And it's rather good. Do yourselves a favor. At the end of the show, I'm going to show you in the housekeeping a couple of links on Cineversity where our own Chad Perkins made fantastic, absolutely marvelous series on Autograph. It's absolutely amazing. And who knows, very soon we may feature Autograph on this show because, yeah, I've started to delve into it. And I have to say, it's a very, very interesting. Anyhow, so where was I? It's easy for me to lose my train of thought. And let's go here, bring this in front. So the question one more time is there a way to animate the create outline command on an irregular spline to make it go outwards gradually? Okay. So what the create outline is, let's say we have this circle. Now, this is not an irregular shape. It's very regular. Make it editable. And then when you're in points mode, editing mode, and you select everything, right click, you can create an outline. It's always somewhere here. There you go, create outline. And what this does, you apply it, it creates an outline of that spline by this distance here. Okay, so you can make it 60, apply, and it will do this. Now, what we do have, because we can't do it directly in the tool, I think there is a node we can do that. Let's go to nodes and type outline. And there you go, outline spline. Outline spline. No, that's, where's my outline? What? These are four, no, okay, I need to do it in the node context, which means let's go to asset construction, node spline. So it's a node, node spline, and you can either add it as a child. I'm going to put it as a child, just makes things easier. I'm going to switch to my nodes layout. And here, if I type outline, I just pressed C, outline spline, and you give it a spline. Let's go and get a spline. Right click here in the input. Let's get a child and let's feed this child. Now, the proper way to do it is do a transform and transform geometry and transform the geometry by the matrix. This is the sort of the standard. I like to do this so don't cross over, because maybe, the shortcuts, data jumps here and goes there, and I'm just joking. I think I've had too much coffee, so forgive me if I'm jumping around. And you get this, you put it here, and let's see what's going to happen over here. Go create outline, and you can do this. So let's try it with an irregular line. Now, by the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have any files I may create today or I've prepared, I'm going to put them in the usual download space. I think, banners, boop, 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 boop. Where do I have it? I'm going to post. Yeah, it's going to be in the description text below. Project. Oh, there you go. Just if you want to see it, this is it. It's going to be in the description text below. Master Trainer projects, and you have access to any file I've made in any of the shows, any dates. That remains the main repository. It's where I put files for tutorials, for quick tips, and stuff like that. So, if one day you have a few hours where you don't have anything better to do and you want to pretend to be working, and you're working hard to learn Cinema 4D, go there, start downloading files, open them up. If you want to find what they're doing, find the appropriate show, because I put them under the appropriate folders, and learn or entertain yourselves, but tell everyone that you're learning. Don't admit that you're having too much fun, all right? So that will be a reason your employers will not give you a raise. Just pretend you're struggling through while you're enjoying learning and using Maxon tools. Anyway, where was I? I was here. Okay. And this now, what you can do to make this an asset, let's go and find an irregular thing. Now, by the way, you will have problems if your spline, let's take this circle, okay? And let's go and add, I just control clicked to add a little point here. For anyone that didn't see it, you can go with your move tool in point mode, press control. You look at those little thingies coming up, boop, and then I'm going to move it here. And what's going to happen here if I activate this is we're going to start having crossovers. There's not much we can do about this. This is how it's a simple outline. It just pushes the points outwards, and if they cross, they cross. So for this, I do not have a solution. Maybe there's a way to build some sort of asset and so forth, but I don't have a solution for this, at least currently. But if you want to complete this and make it into your own, let's say, spline outline asset, right? Let's say you want to do that. What you can do is you go here and you find whatever parameters you need. You control click, boop, it will appear here, and you can drag it, add it. And now this will have that. So you can use this now as a proper generator that's going to do this. And I think you can go negative. Yeah, you can go negative as well. And this is the best we can do under these circumstances. So let me very quickly go to the appropriate folder and save this as procedural outline. There you go, procedural outline. And that will be available in the download. So let me go back to the comments here. Multiple. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, so question. Oh, You're welcome. I wanted to click on the other one. It just came up. Can we have multiple duplicates? Well, this is where a bit of a knowledge of nodes goes a long way. There are a couple of things we can do here. So let me give you some options. One way is to go programmatically and create some sort of looping mechanism, right? So usually you will use a range. A range is a very generic loop where it says where do you start and how many iterations you're going to have. Let's say we need 10 of these, right? Now, um, what you would do if you were doing this in a manual way. Let's think about what's happening internally. Connect. So I'm going to get the connect. And the connect just allows you to drop in any arbitrary geometries, and it will just give you the result at the end. So what I can do is take this one, the geometry is coming from here, outline it. Then if I press Control and Shift, I can create another one that is um, that retains the connections. But if I do a Control drag, it only drags the node. Now let's forget about the range for a second. Let's put it to sleep. And what I want to do here is take, let's say, twice the thickness. So I'm going to go and say multiply and arithmetic multiply and multiply this by 2. And take this and stick it in here. Now we have one more line. Then let's take these two, press Control Shift to make copies. And let's say I want to multiply this by 3 and stick this in here. What this is doing is just adding more inputs. So you can go manually once you've done this, and maybe you instead of the multiply, you do something else, you add. It's up to you. This is just a number, right? You can put any number here. You don't even need to connect these to your interface over here. So you can say, I want a thickness at 30. I want a thickness at 50. I want a thickness at 55. So you can do all these things. That's not a problem. If you want to do multiple outlines, what we need to do is take this step here, which is the replicating step. And the replicating step is creating the outline from the original spline, changing its thickness, and putting it in a connect object. That's what will happen implicitly internally within Cinema 4D. Okay, so let's remove this. Let's remove these and see how we can multiply this little bugger over here. Now we can take advantage of something called multiplicity, right? So let's take our range, and the range is going to create numbers from 0 to 9, right? 10 total. I want to take those numbers and say, well, if I'm working from 0 to 10, what if I want to go every 10? So from 0 to 100 every 10. Well, you just multiply this range, these numbers that are coming out of here, by 10. So if I say, okay, I'm going to find the arithmetic multiply here. It's a float, good. Put it here. Let's multiply by 10. And let's put this here. Now, what's going to happen is when you don't have an explicit loop, there are better ways to do this. I'm going to show you. If I put this here, look at that. Every time the range outputs a number and then multiplies by 10 and put it in thickness, the node system understands that we want to do a separate instance of whatever the spline is doing. And for all intents and purposes, this is going to work perfectly. And you have this little slider here that makes them bigger and smaller and negative and positive and all that beautiful stuff. And if you want to be even cooler, you can actually push them at each step. You can push this through space. You can say, okay, let me get another transform geometry. Transform geometry. Rabbit hole. what's that? The word rabbit hole alert. All right, we're going down rabbit holes. All right. So what this is doing is taking all these geometries and pushing them in the Z. I want to push these in the Z uh, in a different direction. Now we're going to get potentially some issues here. Let's see what happens. Look at that. Now that's becoming fairly interesting, as you can see here. Yeah, it's becoming fairly interesting. And it's creating a copy of each step. The reason is that it's multiplying, it's doing 10 of these, and each one of these 10, then it's putting it in 10 different positions. So this is when I said you can do it this way, but I'm going to show you a better way of doing it. The problem here is that the concept of multiplicity, we're putting without explicitly telling the system where the loop ends, because here we have a mechanism where the loop starts, but there's no end in the loop. So this is executing all of these, and it's making 10 outlines. Okay, these outlines, 10 outlines. And then it's take each one it does, it moves the whole thing and 10 times. That's why we have this original and the outer, and the original and the outer. But I mean, it's a nice effect in any case. You so what you ought to do in these kind of cases is, once you create your 10 splines, you add them into an array, as we call it. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. I'm going to protect you and myself from this. And oh, the other thing is, this inner spline would appear 10 times here, because the default state of the outer spline is just like with modeling. It leaves the initial spline here and then creates the second one. And this happens 10 times. I think that this outline has an option for this. Let me remember if it has that option. Output only outside. All right, so let me show you the difference. I think if you output all, that means, let me go to 1. So 1. Boop, there you go. So what this does is it creates the original and the outline. And if I make this current state to object, I think I'm going to have more splines than I need. Look at that. I can turn this off. See, I have this double spline, but this is single spline because it did this by itself, then this and its outline, then this and the second outline, and so forth. So every time it creates an outline here, it adds the inner one. I think the command to not do that is if you tell it to select this, only the outside. Let's check this out. If I right click and say current state to object, which is the recommended way to see what it's generating, I shouldn't have a second one here. There you go. I don't have a second one. So each one only provides the outline itself. So it is my understanding, if I haven't totally misread this, that if I do this and make it a current state to object, turn this off, whatever, turn these off, I should only have one state of this, one of this, one of this, and one of this. Excellent. So just to finalize things, this is going to work fine as it is if you want this to be a single tool that does all these nice things. If you want to make this into some sort of, you can save this as an asset and use it to create other assets by combining it with other things. In that case, I would suggest you assemble a collection. What I'd like you to pay attention to, I'm going to bring these close and zoom in. See this little squiggly thingy madoodle that looks like a programmer's paradise? Yeah, exactly. These things indicate that they're called scopes. And these indicate that this is the beginning and this is the end. There are different beginnings. The iterate collection is one of those. So if you go through and you right click and the output, you find scopes, outer scopes, inner scopes, whatever. Remember that we have the ones that begin a loop and the ones that end a loop. And in the assemble collection, what we're trying to do, we're going to create, let's say, a multi-component spline. So what I need to tell this thingy-madoodle is the type of collection we're using is an array. So you go to this little button here and you go to structure and you say array. And I don't want an array of floats. I want an array of, I'm going to replace the float with geometry. There you go. And what I'm going to do here is each and every one of these explicit loop-de-loops, every time this does this, I'm going to tell this to close the loop. So what this is doing, it says go 5 times and do whatever I'm telling you to do, which is these two things. We get the geometry, we change the thickness, we only use the outside, and we add it to this array of splines. And then what I can do is use my connect object, just throw this array here and throw this over here. And this is the correct way of doing it. And while the other one in most cases is going to work for you, the fact that here we have a, let's say, a closed scope this will guarantee that when we are going to use this, if I group this, so if I say, you know something, let's group this whole thing. I want to make an asset out of this. So first of all, I'm going to, let me save it first, then let me go and select everything. I'm going to new, I want to group. I just want to select these and group, not scaffold, not scaffold, right click, group nodes. There you go. So they're here. I can say, well, let's expose this. So add new input and call this iterations, or whatever. And what I want to do now is, and this is going to be called multi-outline spline. That's it. That's my new tool. And I'm going to make it into an asset. So I'm going to select it, and in assets, I'm going to convert to asset. It's going to ask me all these questions and so forth. As an asset, you can find it now in here, and it's going to come in as an individual node. The fact that we have closed off the scope will allow this to work without any issues, and you don't even need to know what's inside. All you need to know is how many iterations and just give it a spline. That's it. As simple as that. And this is the generator version, but you can have the node version of this. Anyway, I think I'm going to close the rabbit hole scope. Right? So closing the scope, rabbit hole. Let's see if there are any questions. I'm going to save this as procedural outline group. And you can go and do your little asset and whatever else you want. Let's see what's going on, because I've lost... let's see. Good. It appears audience is happy. Good, good, good. You're very welcome. Let's see this. Nelson Duarte. I have a cloner with cubes with fillet. When I put a plane effector to grow in the Y scale, the fillet gets distorted. Yes, it does. Is there any way to not distort the corners? Haha. Okay. If you don't mind not using scale, because you are talking about, I'm going to take your question literally, right? Literally. Exactly what you say. And this is going to be a lesson if this is not what you want. So everyone's going to learn something today, including myself. Okay. Here's the question. Let me illustrate what Nelson wants to do. I have a cube, and this cube has a fillet, or as they say, a fillet. fillet. There you go. I have this cube. And what I want to do is put it under a cloner. Perfect. And I want different cubes to have, let's put 5 and 5. I want different cubes to have different sizes, different scales. So I say, you know something, I'm going to go and get a plane effector. I'm going to set the Y, not rotation, but the Y scale to be 2. And let's put a linear field or a random field or anything. And you can see what's happening is because we are changing the scale, the rounding becomes this weird thingamadoodle. Okay. So the question is, can we fix that? Yes, we can. And I'm going to show you some options to do that. I'm going to save this because I'm going to provide you with the files in the appropriate folder. Let me do cubes, fillet, scale, 01A, final underscore final, for anyone that understands. Okay, let's go here. Now, you can already sort of tell that by scale alone, we can't really do that. Because if we're scaling the object and the object has a certain topology, which is this one, the moment we scale this one up, we're going to lose this relationship between the sizes. So let's go here and see the cube. What can we do? Well, if we change the size of the cube, well, that now is slightly different. So maybe instead of changing the scale of the cube, which I'm doing here, maybe we should find a way to see if each clone can change the height of the cube. Dun, dun, dun. I need an effects console. You know, I know I can do really good effects and all that. But anyway, so let me teach you how to do that. People that watch my tutorials already know that. So Nelson, you have to watch all my tutorials. So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of one of the functions of the cloner, which is called the iteration mode, how it uses the clone children to create the clones. And we're going to use the blend mode. The blend mode does two things. If the objects are procedural or they have parameters, and it doesn't matter how big the hierarchy is, it will blend between the parameters. If it's a mesh object, if I make this editable, then it blends the point positions, but providing the objects, all the children have the same number of points. So let's start with this. I'm going to call this cube 1, and I'm going to make a cube 2 and make it a child. And the cube 2, I'm going to set the highest Y you want. Let's say 500. So now I have the option to blend between these two things. And you can see that the default state of the blend for a cloner is to take the first the first clone and leave it at make it the first one, and everything else now it's blending the value. What this is doing is for 25 different clones, it just increases. It goes between 100 and 500. That's what it does. It increases that number. And if you make this editable, you will see, look at the cube number. I'm going to go down. Look at this, 100, 116, 133. So it's growing by 16 point something. There you go. Look at that. Each one has a different size. So let's undo a few times. Go back to the other one. And for anyone that doesn't know, here's how you make the plane effector affect that. You need to tell the plane effector not to change the scale anymore. Turn these off. You're changing the clone, modify clone. This is the big secret here, modify clone. And the moment it comes above 0, then responsible for this effect is the effector, not the cloner, which means that I can go here and now do this, or I can say, there you go. and you are scaling them without changing the rounding. And that's how you go about doing this. So save. And yeah, that is the solution of Nelson's question. Now, there's another way. Let's talk about other ways. I'm going to save this as cubes fillet scale number 2. Just going to put 2. There we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to use the blend. I'm going to use a totally different technique. And that technique is to scale it. All right, so I am going to scale. You are going to say, wow, you said don't scale. Yep, wait a minute. Let's get rid of the fillet. And because there's no fillet now, this looks good. Well, I'm going to go and add the fillet later. It may be a bit slower, but it may give you options to do other things. So go to this, connect it, turn off the weld, and I'm going to put it under a null because I'm going to apply a bevel deformer to everything. And there you go. So sometimes this may be a helpful thing to do. And the reason the bevel remains the same here is because we're applying it post-scaling. So first the geometry scaling, and then we're applying the bevel. Whereas in the previous, we applied as part of the object. And under different circumstances, something like this will be more handy. So I hope this was, these two potential solutions will give you some sort of way forwards. No one else is asking questions. Nothing. I think everyone's learned everything. Maybe you are watching my tutorials. Oh, and I have a very quick tip today. All right, so let's go, and I'm going to wait for other questions while I'm going through the questions that come from the online form. Now, I touched upon this last week. There was a question from Pete, the United States, asking about a way to animate multiple objects automatically that are rolling down hills. And it's not as simple. I'm not going to provide a solution today, but I'm just going to show what this is. If this is rolling down a hill, let's do a plane, for example. Let's do this. If a cube is rolling down a hill, what actually is happening is it needs to pivot on the point that's touching the ground. Okay, so I'm going to do it using, I'm going to make it editable. I'm going to move the points around. So this is how it will select everything. Select everything, click on this. Ooh, select everything. Click on this. It will go boop, right? That's how it was going to go. Then it's going to go boop, right? Then it's going to go boop. That's how a cube is going to move. And this requires a level of rigging and programming and so forth, especially if we want it to be totally procedural. There are ways, but they're involved mathematically, not something can be done very easily. Now, with regular shapes, you may find a repeating formula because the cube has all sides the same and so forth. Now, the question becomes, what do you do if your cube is actually a bit rotated? If your cube is a bit off and it's trying to go down this way, well, then that's why you need something, not simulation. I mean, yeah, you could, but you can't force it down the hill if it doesn't have the gravity needs to pull it in a certain way, right? This one, if imagine if you have this cube on this inclination, it's not going to roll down. You have to make it incline much more in order to make it roll down, especially if it's got big sides. Anyhow, um, I am looking for a more general solution. I'm looking at what other people are doing in different programs. I remember there was a tutorial about this from my very good friend Orestes Kostadinidis, but it was only for a cube. It was a very specific way to rig it in order for it to work. But an automated solution is much more involved, much harder. We will see. That's the answer. Okay. One second. Okay. Okay. There's a question. Let me see if I can make. Let me copy this, and I'm going to make a banner. So create a banner and paste it. I don't know if it's going to. Right. Let's see. I'm trying to understand the proper workflow for importing and applying a head-up display. Now, not the Cinema 4D head-up display. It's a head-up display inside of a visor. Remember the Iron Man series and all that. So this is Dario from Italy. We already have the animated head-up display, and the question is, how do we bring it inside Cinema 4D? Well, the solution, if that is the question, is not I think I pressed the button too many times. It's not all that complex and has to do with how we load movies as textures inside Cinema 4D. Although something like that, maybe a compositing application would be better. But in any case, let me see if I have a movie available to me. Let me quickly go and check. One sec. When I need a movie and I want to. One sec. I forget if I have. I always forget. Always forget. There we go. So I do have something. So let's let me quickly. It's loading the thumbnails and all that nice stuff. Okay. So I have this, which was a render I did a million years ago. And this is a PNG frame sequence. I apologize to anyone if I triggered them by using PNGs. That was old. I was young. I was not that wise. So forgive me. What you're going to do is you're going to create any material. And you're going to open up your material. And you're going to load a texture. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go to that folder and drag in an image because it's going to create a. Do you want application? Do you want to create a copy at the project? No, of course not. Just link it. And this is just going to create a texture node. So if I press C and type texture, it's going to give me the texture node. And I can go and load. It's exactly the same one. But by dragging the image here, I get the whole thing automatically. Now, what I'm going to do is go here. And I need to go here where it says image, right? Open this up, go to animation. And it says mode. Well, simple mode. And detect frames, already detected the frames, and it knows what everything is. And yeah, now I can use it as a material. So let's let me see how I can make this nice and fancy. I'm actually going to put it in the transmission because why not? Transmission color. Should I be doing this? And put some transparency here on the transmission and get rid of everything else. I don't know what this is going to do. So we're just going to test. We test things. That's what we do here. Let me get, it's a visor. So I'm going to get a plane. I'm going to put it on the plus Z. And I'm going to get my bend deformer, and you can see what this is doing. It's bending that way. I want to rotate it 90 degrees this way and 90 degrees that way. There we go. 96, 70, 75, 80, 90. And there's this new, the new mode, origin, center C shape, right? Now you don't need two of these to do that. And there's your visor. Put it in here. It loads that material over there. Let's put an environment of sorts. Let's go here, go to media and type HDR. Where shall we go? Let's go here, some sort of parking lot. Boop, 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 boom. Good. Let's render this. Of course, it's going to be upside down. There we go. I'm going to say plus Z. A plus a Z. And it's 1920 by 1080, right? So 1920 divided by, I don't know, 10. 1080 divided by 10. There we go. We can go close. And we can see slightly the things on the back. So let's play with this material now and see what happens. I mean, this is not a good material for what I just did, but hey, who cares? Now, this is the open PBR material. So there are certain things that work in a certain way. You can see this is new default, but you can use this, the standard material if you want to do that. But overall, maybe it needs some specular highlights. Maybe we do need it to reflect a bit. Or if we don't want to do it with the specular, we can go to the coating. Basically, the coating adds on top of what we're doing some sort of reflection and get rid of darkening. I don't want to darken it. I want to keep it as it is. And yeah, this would be the way to do it. And because it's all right, so we need to light this up. And I'm going to go to the emission and maybe light it up a bit. Yeah. I'm going to expose the color and put this in the color as well. There you go. That looks nice. That looks like a proper head-up display. And it's kind of transparent. And if you want to make it more transparent, here I've got the transmission set to 1. And it's the colors that are changing that. And basically what I need to do is change a bit the color that goes in the transmission. And let's do that. I think the best way to do that is with a color correct, I think. As usual, let's experiment. Do I need this to have high gamma? There we go. So, you know, we can change the way this reacts with our environment. And all that nice stuff. Anyway, just play around. You can see through it. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? Make sure that the specular has no roughness. There we go. That's it. Here's your head-up display. And you can change the level of emission. Different units, by the way, different units. Maybe instead of color, do we have contrast? Yeah, that's what I want to do, contrast. Let's see if I can contrast this more. No, can I not? Yeah, it's something else. It's not the color. It's actually what's going in the emission that's causing this. See, I'm down a rabbit hole now. There we go. Here's my rabbit hole. Black and white. We need some saturation scale. Get some saturation back in here. Anyway, and you can see a bit of the background as well. Yeah, I got carried away. It's very easy for me to get distracted. And that's how you would go about creating something like this. It doesn't look particularly appetizing. I'm not going to save a file for this because, first of all, you won't have this movie. Just make sure that you load using the animation tab here and make sure you go simple or loop. It's going to just loop if it's less than the timeline, or ping pong and stuff like that. So, yep. Oh, let's see. There's a question. Maybe there's a follow-up here. Let's see. See, go up a bit. The emission, for some reason, the emission in the Redshift Open PBR node needs to be about 1,000 times higher than the standard node to get it there. It's a different standard. These are different numbers. Don't confuse one with the other. In any case, even in cases like this, if you this is a standard that should comply to the open PBR standard that other software uses. So if by any chance you happen to come across a PBR material that, the standard PBR that comes with another application, those are the values you need to compare, right? Those are the ones that we are trying to be closer to. But if you do feel that it's too off or it doesn't make sense and all that, please make sure that you report it to Maxon. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? Let me put it full screen. Is there a way to animate a noise texture in a specific axis with a time? Absolutely no any other way. And to be able to preview in the viewport. The preview of noise is not without some sort of render, unless you're using standard render noise. The question is, what are you actually trying to achieve for this? What kind of visual? Because visualizing airflow, let me think of certain things you could do. Texture pattern in a specific axis. I'm trying to understand what you would want to see. I'm reading it. Using particles, maybe. Right. Let's see. I'm not even sure I understand the full context, but it doesn't matter. It hasn't. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try what is in my mind. So particle layout, this is my own layout. If you go on Cineversity and look at the tutorials, you will find how I did it. Okay. Okay. I will need to see something, but anyway, let's try this for a second. Let's try these particle things here, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to emit a shot of 1,000 particles. Right. I'm going to trace them. Let's go and MoGraph tracer. Good. And I'm going to add the noise in. I'm going to add it in the simplest way possible. I'm going to add a turbulence here. So essentially, I'm doing that. I can confine their motion in the X and in the X axis. So I can go with a math modifier and just tell them that the position X is a constant 0. So now they're going to stick in one plane. That will be one way of doing it, I assume. If you want lines. If there is I'm reading this again. Everyone together with me. A turbulence noise scaled on the x-axis. What I don't understand is, what do you mean scaled on the x-axis? Because maybe it's much simpler than what I think. Let's create a plane. Let's add a noise. Let's go back to the standard Redshift. Let's go and do it with Redshift. Let's just add this here. Let's go and open PBR. I don't care about this. I'm going to do a Maxon noise, put it here, and turn this on. Good. And let's change. Let's put this down here. Let's go to the noise, and let's change the scaling. Right. So the scale. Change this. I can increase the Z. So that's my question. What exactly the scale looks? Yeah, I don't understand the question. No. If there's some sort of visual reference, I apologize for that. Yes, maximum noise, no turbulent noise scaled, so it looks stretched. You don't want it to look stretched, as far as I understand. I press this twice. Yeah, if you have a link to something, which an image that shows that, you know, I may give it an extra little shot here, if you don't mind. If you can find something and just throw it there, and I'm going to deal with another question. What time is it? Oh, approaching the hour. Okay, here's another question. Here's another question I had. The question was from, first of all, this is a question from Mike from Canada. Hey. So, all right. I've made 2 files for that, actually. I've created 2 examples. I'm going to go and open them. If you give me a second. Circle, particle emission, circle, particle emission, circle, particle emission, straight. Good. There we go. So the question I had, and I can close this. Did I save this? It's the group. Save. Close. Cubes fillet. Close. Just closing anything we don't need. This is the head-up display, and this is the lines. Let me close this. Okay. So the question overall was, if I've got an emitter, so let's go to my particle setup. Basic emitter, let's say a circle, and we're emitting particles. What would be the best way to remove those inner particles? 300, the particles, I assume, here in the middle, and create some sort of pipe of particles. And yeah, there are different ways of doing this. I would say the simplest way is to go and kill everything that's inside. So you would say, let's get a condition. Actually, field condition is better, a field condition. And this field condition is going to have, let's put a spherical field. Let's make sure that the spherical field itself is 100%. It's either on or off. And I'm going to go to one of my views here and make sure that this is ever so slightly smaller than that. And I don't need that to be a child. And when this condition is satisfied, anything that's returns true is going to die. So there you go. And the downside with this is that because you're generating a certain number of particles, 10,000 per second, and then you're killing, you don't know how many you're generating. Of course, you can go here, go to points mode, and see at every different frame how many of these particles you have. If you want a better control on how many you are generating, then we can go to a few more, interesting setups. Okay, so let's see. A setup that will be interesting would be to have a spline. I'm going to just set it up. You can use a circle spline, and with the circle selected, you can do a spline emit. Now, what this is going to do by definition, it's going to just go tangential from the spline in all sorts of directions. But if you set this, um, if you set the alignment, sorry, the direction, where's my direction? Not radial. You can see it's radial from each tangent, just so that you understand what we're doing here. If you take this little line here, let's say you take this little component here, this little line, it's going to go in all sorts of radial directions around this. Okay, that is what it does. That's what the radial does. But you can also go on an axis. So let's go with the Z. So now we're going to be emitting particles just from the outline of the circle. And because we're not deleting anything, we can just tell it to emit whatever number of particles we want. And there you have it, perfect little circle. And those files are going to be available for download. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you will have to send me a visual thing. I'm yeah. Unfortunately, you know, the chat is not the best place to ask complicated questions. I'm expecting someone to invent a nice little method where, you know, you can share an image very quickly and I can take a look. One day. YouTube doesn't do that. Okay. And it is 3 minutes to the hour. And let me check to see if we have any more of these, any more questions. I did have a question about bonbon drop seals. I heard my son say bonbon seals, I think, one day, and I thought he was speaking gibberish. He's a teenager, they do that stuff. And then I realized that it's these things here, little seals. It's little seals where made of glass or something like that, which happen to be very popular nowadays. And the question I had is how to start this in ZBrush. I do not do ZBrush. You can model these. You don't even need any starting point other than an image. There's a suggested workflow that says get the outline data from Illustrator or something like that, and use Fusion to create a block shape base model. And also, these are too simple. I wouldn't even bother with these things. This is a little seal. It's you just, you know, the best thing in my view to do these kind of things is go with volume modeling. So a volume builder and a volume mesher. We work in SDF and we start adding and blocking out using little spheres here, making copies of the sphere, please. A copy of the sphere and you know, another copy of the sphere. You want to make this into a little worm, then you can go here and you can sort of smooth out how the blend happens, just in case anyone hasn't seen. Maybe I need to do a quick tip about the radius. Maybe it's not very obvious what it does. So you can create all sorts of nice little thingies. Let's make a couple of eyes. Let's get a little small sphere and move it here. I'm going to do an E.J. Hasselfratz type pug whale. There you go. You got your little pug here, and you can make these black and automatic. Make this darker. There you go. You have a, let's make a mouth. Shall we make a mouth? Let's make a mouth. There we go. So we can drag this in here and we can subtract it from the volume builder. So go to cube and subtract. There we go. Yeah. So you can make all sorts of little objects like this. And when you're done, let me go back to this and let me go to full screen just to make it a bit more visible. And when you're done, because your topology here is going to be a bit meh, you can always go and do a retopology. So you can take, you can remesh this. Look at that. You can remesh it, and then you can do anything else. You can use this as a starting point. That'll be interesting. Let me take these two rabbit hole alert and drag them in here, and let's go and subtract these as well. Subtract and subtract. There you go. Look at that. Nice little insets, sockets for the eyes, and you made a fish. So this would be something. Maybe I should save this. And what are these called again? Bonbons? Please forgive me. I'm not up to speed with what youth. Bonbon seals. Lord. Bonbon seals. There you go. Bonbon seals for the taking and download. Okay. Let's go and do the housekeeping. Let's go and do the housekeeping. And let's go to this. All right. Paste something here, pasting a comment. Go check this out about autograph. That's number one. Please do that. Do yourselves a favor and do that. There we go. Here's the other one. Boop, 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 boop. Project downloads. Let's go here. Paste. Project downloads. Go check out this link that has all downloads. Allow me 15 to 20 minutes before I have another PC sitting there and it's doing some weird stuff. Yeah. I'm going to throw it out of the window. Please go to this link and check out the various folders. You can see they're all dated, and we're just this is upcoming, up and coming, right? Don't click on this. Wink, wink. Don't, because yeah. What else? If I reply to any questions in this university forum, I put them in here and so forth. Okay. I'm losing my train of thought. This is the downloads. Go to this link over here. Let's go and paste it in. And it will take you to this page where you can go and sign up for the newsletter and other nice, looks like new Redshift stuff. Yeah, there was an announcement. What was it? 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I'm pressing the hide button when another message pops up, and I'm showing other messages I shouldn't. So go to this page, and here you can ask questions that will come in a spreadsheet, and I check them out and see what I can answer. And of course, the events, where things are happening, and online, you can go by region, you can go by various types. And Maximum Training Team YouTube channel. Look at that. That's all. Oh, it's all quick tips. Yeah. So these are all quick tips. Go check out the quick tips and go sign up to the playlist so you get notified. Of course, the Maximum YouTube channel. There's some really interesting videos came out of NAB and announcements. This is where you're going to see various announcements. Yeah, Cinema 40 for iPad. It is a thing. Of course, go and teach yourself ZBrush. Go watch videos and feel envious about the amazing artists that create beautiful stuff using ZBrush. And finally, go to Cineversity and whatever you do, if you do any kind of compositing, if you've ever touched any compositor, just go and spend some time with Chad. He's a great guy, and watch his Getting Started with Autograph series just to get a sense, right? There's no excuse not to at least dedicate some time learning free software, right? We all know what that means. And of course, go watch all my tutorials and EJ's tutorials and all the other great stuff we have on Cineversity. Let's see. Yeah, new Redshift and stuff like that. And on that note, I want to thank everyone again for being part of the show. And local mods, please hit me up either on Twitter, DM at NosemanGR. That's one thing you can do. What else? NosemanGR, here we go. I do frequent a few discords. You may find me there. What else? You can go through the forum using the link I shared. Anything else? Anything else? Yep, I'm on the MoGraph Slack. I do not know where I am. I'm all over the place. MoGraph Slack. That is by invitation only. I'm not part of the people that make those decisions. Anyway, that's that for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please spread the word. Do all the stuff, the subscriptions, the notifications, the commenting. I don't know what this algorithm is becoming my nemesis. The algorithm. It needs to be fed. It needs to be pampered. All that stuff. In any case, I'm talking while I'm looking for the button I have to press in order to put the closing screen. And again, thanks for hanging out. See you in a couple of weeks, maybe not, because we have a company event. I'll probably be around Germany. So take care. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.